Hey guys, Hamsterwheel here with a new video, and welcome to episode 4 of the Classic Armory. Today we're going to take a look at a class that is considered to be the jack of all trades, the master of none. A class that has a very special place in my heart as I played one all throughout vanilla WoW. I'm talking about the Druid, more specifically the Feral Druid. Now it is unfortunate that a Druid doesn't get the benefit from things like DPS or the damage on a weapon, but it's still nice to have a couple of recommendations while leveling, as some will provide you with some very good offensive stats to help you along your way of reaching max level. So, without further ado, let's get started. So when you start off leveling as a Druid, you're stuck with the first 10 levels just spamming spells, as Bear Form and the Feral way of leveling starts at level 10 and up. From there on out though, we can start with some cool recommendations. First up, I'm going to recommend the Goblin Smasher, a two-handed mace with 8.2 DPS, 3.1 attack speed, but more importantly, 2 strength, which is a nice little damage booster for your early levels. It also says it's only for Taurens, but you know, only Taurens can be Druids on the Horde side, so no problems there. This weapon is a reward from the quest Supervisor Fist Sprocket. Then in your mid-teens, you can shoot for the Cauldron Stir, a staff with 10.2 DPS, 3.1 attack speed and 4 stamina. A great little staff if you want a bigger health pool to be a bit less squishy when you're leveling or tanking dungeons like Ragefire Chasm. It's also very easy to obtain, so definitely check this thing out when you're leveling. The quest is called Apothecary Zama. Then in your late teens, you should get yourself a group for the Wailing Caverns and get your hands on this, the Crescent Staff. A staff with 20.3 DPS, 2.9 attack speed, 7 intellect, 7 spirit and 7 stamina. Now while it doesn't have any strength or agility, it's still quite decent as staff, because it does offer you a fair amount of stamina, spirit, and that 7 intellect is a nice addition to your mana pool for when you need to shift out of bear form or cat form to heal up. That, and pretty much every low level Horde is running Wailing Caverns, so you might as well get this when you're going through that dungeon anyway. The quest is called Leaders of the Fang, and like I said, involves you going through the Wailing Caverns. A few levels later we get to our 20s, and at that level range we'll have a look at this, the Demolition Hammer. A proper Feral Druid weapon that's hard on the offensive stats. A two-handed mace with 17.6 DPS, 2.3 attack speed, but more importantly, a massive 9 extra strength. All in all, a great weapon that will give you a nice boost in your damage, and it's also an item you can get through a quest, so no luck involved with drops and rolls. The quest from this item is called Weapons of Choice. Then in our mid to late 20s we go to 1000 Needles to check out this, the Brute Hammer. A two-handed mace with 19.1 DPS, 3.3 attack speed, 8 stamina, 4 strength and 1 agility. So while this item might not give you as much of a DPS boost as the Demolition Hammer, that 8 stamina and 1 agility makes you a lot less squishy. So you could swap between these two for either eating damage or just going balls to the wall with your Demolition Hammer. It's also pretty easy to pick up, and it's obtained by doing the quest Arakara. After that we get to around level 30 and step into Nomergun to get this, the Manual Crowd Pummeler. A two-handed mace with 29 DPS, 2 attack speed, 16 strength, 5 agility, and more importantly, it increases your attack speed by 50% for 30 seconds, and it has 3 chargers. Fun fact, this is, by far, the best weapon for any Feral Druid out there. No, not at this level range, in the entire game. Yep, a level 29 blue item is the best item in the game for a Feral Druid, simply cause that 50% attack speed for 30 seconds is a huge DPS increase, so if you're aiming to be a Feral Druid at max level as well, get used to this item. A proper Feral Druid will go back to Nomergun over and over again, because one hammer only has 3 charges, and you want to have multiple in your bag to last yourself an entire raid. For now though, it's also incredibly good for leveling even without that use, as it still offers you a lot of strength and agility. And while Nomergun isn't exactly right around the corner of a Horde leveling zone, you can use the teleporter in Booty Bay to get there quickly, and you want to run Nomergun at least once because there's a quest for that dungeon that gives you some pretty sweet feral legs, which I will post in the description below this video. So, in a nutshell, definitely an item to shoot for and something to keep in mind if you want to do feral DPS at level 60. Then a few levels later, in the mid-30s bracket, we gotta take a look at this, Loksey's Training Stick. A staff with 31.3 DPS, 3.1 attack speed, and gives you 60 attack power when fighting beasts. I've already talked about how great this staff is for hunters, but for druids it's really good as well. 60 attack power for fighting beasts is going to offer you a big boost in damage, so it's definitely an item worth picking up. There are a few problems though. 1. It's a drop and not something obtained through a quest, and 2. There's a lot of other classes that you'll have to roll against. Hunters, enhancement shamans, hell, I wouldn't be surprised if some warrior rolls need on it too, so just keep in mind that this weapon is very popular with other classes as well. Then in the same bracket, I would like to offer you something that can be crafted, the Golden Iron Destroyer. A two-handed mace with 22.9 DPS, an odd 2.75 attack speed, 11 strength and 4 stamina. Now, I would only recommend this item for anyone who hasn't gotten an upgrade for a long time, hasn't seen anything on the auction house for a decent price, and someone that has a few gold left to have a friend craft this item for him. It's not super expensive to make, and at 11 strength offers you some nice extra attack power, but just keep in mind that this is more of an emergency upgrade if you haven't been lucky enough to get the previously mentioned weapons. Or what you could also do is get a few more levels to get to the late 30s bracket and get yourself this, the Cragwood Maul. A two-handed mace with 31.3 DPS, 2.8 attack speed and 17 stamina. Now, while this doesn't offer you any offensive stats, it's still a nice weapon to pick up if you haven't gotten anything out of the previous dungeons, and unlike the Golden Iron Destroyer, you're not reliant on a blacksmith to craft you this item, which also means not having to spend any money to get this. It's also from a quest, further increasing your chances of getting this, and that 17 stamina will definitely come in handy if you want to do some tanking in dungeons. Then in your early 40s, we once again dive into Older Man, but this time for this weapon right here, the Ironshod Bludgeon. A staff with 37.2 DPS, 2.5 attack speed, a massive 20 stamina and 8 strength. That 20 stamina is going to help you greatly with having a large health pool in bear form and just making you a lot less squishy overall. The nice thing is that this isn't really that popular with other classes, as that 2.5 attack speed isn't really that great for any melee DPS, and at this level they have better alternatives. So chances are you won't have a whole lot of competition when it comes to rolling for this weapon. It is a drop though, so luck has to be on your side, but it's definitely a good feral item to keep in mind when you're going through that dungeon. Another weapon that drops in Older Man is one from the last boss, the Rockpounder. A two-handed mace with 42.7 DPS, 3.7 attack speed, 5 strength, and increases your chance to get a critical strike by 2%. All in all, a great weapon for feral druids, and it's something that could last you all the way to your mid to late 50s, but the competition will be much higher for this one compared to the staff, as enhancement shamans and warriors have their eye on this weapon as well. And then we have one more recommendation that is in the mid 50s bracket, which is the Impervious Giant, a two-handed mace that drops in Blackrock depths. It has 48.89 DPS, 2.7 attack speed, 30 armor, improves your chance to hit by 1%, and improves your chance to get a critical strike by 2%. What's great about this weapon is that this is much more aimed towards feral druids, as the attack speed is not ideal for, let's say, a warrior, and other melee classes have better alternatives in this dungeon like the Dreadforge Retaliator or the Lavastone Hammer, and that 30 armor will of course multiply in bear form to give you some extra defensive capabilities, plus the hit and crit is pretty useful for when you're doing feral DPS as a cat. And there you go folks, a couple of recommendations for you to get as a feral druid as you make your way to level 60. I hope I was able to help you feral druids out there, and as always, I want to thank you for watching this video. I'm Hamsterwheel and have a good one.